Okay, let's hope we're getting a video.
So you think we're good?
We're good enough.
As best as we can be. All right, well then we'll call the meeting to order. Release. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Needham,
Here.
Councilman Mills, Supervisor Runyon,
Here.
Councilman Brown,
Here.
Councilman Volusia.
Here.
We'll start the meeting with the payment of the claims. Does someone want to bring that resolution to the floor? Ed? Okay, a second?
I will.
Doug?
Wait a minute, you gotta repeat that.
Ed and Doug.
And what,
The payment claims.
you taking it out?
For payment of claims.
Okay, I didn't catch that. Are you ready? Wait, let me get my resolutions out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in the right spot now.
Alright. Resolution to approve payment of the claims for the total of abstract 2 in the general fund, February 15th, 2024, is $50,742.28. And the total of abstract 2 for the highway fund for February 15th, 2024 is $62,532.80. For a total of $113,275.08. Are there any questions about any of the claims that are listed on the abstracts? No? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the next resolution I have to discuss is related to the Kyocera printer. Does someone want to bring that to the floor?
I will.
Randy, okay, and a second? Ed? Alright, so whereas the town of Thurman is ending their lease with National Business Leasing for the Kyocera printer, and whereas the contract states that the cost of returning the printer falls on the town, and this cost is estimated to be between $300 to $500 based on the size and weight of the copier. And whereas National Business Leasing has offered to sell us the printer for $400, be it resolved the town board of the town of Thurman approves the purchase of the Kyocera printer as it is more cost effective to purchase it and have use of it rather than pay the shipping costs. And in your packet, you have the email that tells me what it will cost to return it, and the quote that I have to buy it for $400 as long as we do it by March 2nd. And if you want to see this, what I have here, the estimated value of that printer used is $2,799. And the quote that I did get for shipping it, the cheapest I could find, was $279.56. Now I talked to Jamie, since it's in her office, and she would prefer we keep it because she uses it to scan and do large quantities of printing. But we do have to pay to ship. I have a copy of the contract here that says we have to pay to ship it back. And I just think for $130 more than shipping it, we could keep it. And they do feel that through National Business Leasing, we might be able to continue the service agreement.
I would just like to say that I kind of use it too for genealogy when people sometimes I copy the big old books and I can't do that on any normal things.
I didn't know that.
I mean, I could do without it, but it's nice.
So do you have any further discussion, or do you agree that we should buy it? How do you feel?
Did you get a price on the maintenance contract if we wanted?
I'm pretty sure it'd be the same as what we're doing now, which I think is $35 a month. Is what we're paying. But I did not look into that until I found out about whether we wanna keep it, because even if we have an extra toner up there already, and we've never had an issue with it the whole time we've had it. And we do have another, we have two of them, well, we would have two of them now, so. Do you agree with that? Okay, all in favor of keeping the printer, oh, sorry,
You're not buying a new printer, you're just keeping this.
we're buying the existing printer
This-
rather than pay $279 to ship it. Yeah. Is there any other comments or questions about the printer? No? Okay. All in favor of paying the $400 to keep the printer, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next resolution that I'm very excited about is a resolution to approve the purchase of two new plow trucks. And Pat was supposed to be here today to answer any questions on the trucks. He isn't here yet. So I just need someone to bring that to the floor. Ed, okay, and a second? Doug?
That was Doug?
Yeah. Ed and Doug.
Yeah, thank you.
Whereas the town of Thurman is in need of two plow trucks to replace the two that are over 20 years old and cause extensive repair costs, and whereas an opportunity exists where the town can purchase two trucks, one with a delivery date of June 2024 and the other delivery date before the end of year 2024, at a cost of $328,932 each. Whereas the town is able to finance these trucks for 5 years with the first payment of $158,732.28 being deferred until February 28th, 2025, so as not to affect the 2024 budget. And whereas a lender also requires a $500 documentation fee at closing, be it resolved, the town board of the town of Thurman approves the purchase of two plow trucks financed through NCL with the first payment date of February 28th, 2025. This cost will be incorporated into the 2025 budget, code DA 5130.2, and resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to pay the $500 documentation fee from code DA 5130.2, which is their equipment code. And in your packet is the payment information from NCL. And there's also, the description of the truck. And you have the schematics, I think also, right, like this in there? Yeah. The schematic of the sizes and what kind of steering column and all the information on there.
So my first question or observation, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like we're financing for two trucks a total of $657,864.
Yes,
We're gonna do 5 payments, so 5 years, payments $158,732.28
great.
per year.
Mhm.
That means we're paying a total of $793,661.40. So if you
That's-
subtract what we're financing, $657,864, that means we're paying $135,797.40 in interest,
Yeah,
finance charges.
27,000 a year in interest.
Is there any option of us financing someplace else at a better rate? Because that seems really high. I mean, I could sit down and figure out what the interest rate is, but I don't even think I can do that.
Down payment and trade-in, is there any way we can trade in some of our old trucks?
I think he was gonna put them out to bid. That's what Pat was thinking.
It seems like every time we do that, though, nobody
Bids on them.
Nobody bids on them, we're stuck with them, so I mean, if we could trade them in, we might be better off.
NCL finances though, I don't think we can do it with them, but we maybe can do it somewhere else.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Most people are gonna take a trade or one you buy it off of. And you're buying them out of Michigan?
I don't know, that's why Pat was supposed to be here to answer these questions.
there anywhere, if you're coming out of Michigan, is there anywhere that says what our fee is to ship them here?
No.
And they are internationals, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're still going through international. Yeah, the Albany.
If we do the 3 years, that's 101,000 in interest. I'd say
So they're basically charging pretty close, almost 8% interest. Seems like, on a municipality, that seems like a pretty steep interest rate for us to have to pay, over a 5-year payment. I mean, I know interest rates have gone up and everything, but, I mean, to
we
drop,
could always, pay it off sooner. We can use fund balance and pay it off sooner to save on interest, but I just bought a car, I'm paying 9 and I have excellent credit, so that is the average
Yeah.
rate right now. And there
yeah,
are-
so we're paying $135,797.40 just in interest
in 5 years,
over 5 years. That's a lot of interest.
27,000.
Yeah.
And at the end of the 5 years, is those trucks ours, or we turn them back in on lease?
What? No, they're ours.
They're ours?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny, they call this a lease,
Lease.
but we went through this before on one of the other ones. I mean, we actually own them. I don't know
Yeah.
why they call it a lease.
Well, I think because we pay NCL like we are for the garbage truck. We have the garbage truck, the loader, and the other plow truck. Well, not the loader, that's John Deere. The other 2 trucks that we have, the plow truck and the garbage truck, that go through NCL, they call it a lease because we pay them, but they don't release the money until we have the truck. So our garbage truck money is sitting in their account waiting for delivery, and then they release it. So I think that that's why they call it, you know, sort of, they're putting the money up front and then we're paying them.
If we explore other financing opportunities, will they honor this amount that we're gonna finance, the $657,864?
Will they?
Will they sell us the trucks at those prices if we finance someplace else?
I don't know. This is, the financing is through NCL. There are 4 trucks that are available right now.
Yeah,
The key point is they're available right now.
yeah.
If we don't do it, they're gonna sell them, and they're gonna sell them fast, because everyone's looking for trucks.
Then in 2 years plus out.
I get that, and look, I'm on board as far as getting the trucks.
Well, the
It's
other
just-
option is paying it off. We don't have to go out 5 years. We can do the deal and pay it off sooner and save on the interest. It's not like we have to,
Yeah.
you know, just like any other loan. You don't have a prepayment penalty, you can pay them off,
Yeah.
I don't think there is a PC.
you know.
It also kind of bothers me that they show you the amount financed and they show you the payments, but they never really tell you the interest rate they're charging you. You have to figure it out, so.
Well, they will after I send them, yeah, right, but they will after I send them this information. This all just happened.
Yeah.
I think Monday or Tuesday, he found out about the trucks, and then I called them right away to get to see if we could get the funding. I mean, this all just,
I don't wanna take a lot of time and miss the opportunity to buy the trucks. I know we need them. But I guess I would propose that we explore other lease or other finance options, and if we have to call another board meeting within the next few days to, you know, finalize this, then we can do that. But,
yeah, who do you wanna call?
I mean, I don't know where to go to finance it, you know, trucks like this for a municipality. I'm not sure. I'm just wondering, are there other opportunities out there? It just seems like.
Oh, here it is.
There he is. We got questions.
You're just in time.
So, I was just looking at how much we're financing and how much the payments add up to. And over 5 years, we're gonna be paying $135,797 in interest. It's almost 8% interest rate, and I'm just wondering, are there other options out there for financing that would, where we could get a better rate as a municipality? Or do we have to finance it through these guys?
That's, the NCI is the one that generally does the finance for municipalities.
You know,
The banks want, I think, want to do bonds, like long-term bonds, but I don't know, you know, there's a lot more qualified, I think, for that. And I'm not 100%, I don't do the financing of it.
right,
But we tried, you know, with other companies, I tried to find some trucks in Canada, and, that were cheaper, that were all made, but they won't allow us to import them because they're made with non-emission stuff there. So we can't even import them into the country.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like, before you were here, I told these guys, I'm not opposed to buying the trucks, I think we should do it, I agree with that. I'm just looking, is there a better way to finance it so that we're not wasting $135,000? So, I don't know.
The rates are up, and the interest rates are up everywhere, you
I
know,
know.
there's not much we can do about that.
You know,
As far as other avenues of finding them, there's just nothing there. I went to Charlie Boys up north and checked with them for Western Star, and they're talking 3 years out. This company that's got these trucks previously bought them from HL Gage, and which is the only reason they have the trucks, and they're setting them up and selling them on their own, and that's the best thing I can do for time.
yeah. Brian?
Brian?
Yeah, you were talking about the trucks and I'm all for you buying the trucks, but you said that they're available right now. You're having one delivered in June and one in 2025. If they're available now, why aren't they both being delivered at the same time? I mean, you're gonna make same payment on it, whether,
Right, one truck we're getting in June, the other one by the end of the year of 2024.
so they're not ready.
But they have them, and they're not, it's not like we have to wait for them to be built, right? What are they waiting to do? Just some final
They just put
stuff?
the plows and wings and stuff on them. But the trucks, to order the trucks, the cabin chassis, that's what's the big shortage. And, there's just no trucks out there.
Right.
HL Gage, or CEJ has put bodies on, they're so behind, he said he had to rent 2 lots to put the bodies in, because there's no trucks to put them on. The trucks are ordered, they've got the bodies, but they can't get no trucks.
And we also gotta take into consideration doing maintenance on all the trucks. Total a lot more than what the interest is gonna be, but he's doing that every year, what, 135, 145,000?
We were 75,000 over. I think.
75,000
We
over
gotta consider
repairs.
that, I think we should consider that, because, you know, if that's gonna happen every year, there's $400,000 right there.
There's an interest rate there, just.
Well, the interest, we've got money, you know, where we could take it out of our surplus
Yeah.
and almost pay for one truck, but we were making like 40,000 a year on interest by leaving that money in the surplus. You know what I mean? Rather than taking it out and depleting the entire.
Where are we making interest rate wise on,
Our money is in the bank. Right now, New York class is 5.25%.
Pat, just out of curiosity, how many trucks ultimately is gonna be ideal for our fleet? How many do we ultimately?
We've got 6. The 2 of them are like 2002, 2000, you know, Fords. But these other 2, the ones the leftover from both of them are ones we bought used from Boat Landing. And we just took the deck chains on both of them, we rebuilt them twice.
Yeah.
And there's nothing left to weld on that one. I went underneath and we tacked it from underneath and we welded some brackets and bolted it.
Yeah.
And then the chains, I mean, they're $2,000 or $3,000 a piece. We just got fuel tank brackets and routed off the other one. They were $3,000 for 2 brackets to hold the fuel tanks.
Yeah,
Prices on maintenance is crazy.
yeah.
How many truck drivers do we have? Licensed truck drivers.
7, well, 8 of myself.
And they are 2024 trucks. They're new.
Yeah, you know.
Tandem, triax.
I know the interest is high, but interest is high right now. Our option would be to pay them down.
over the next year or two, what other equipment purchases are we looking at?
We're gonna have to replace our sweeper eventually. I got a main seal leak in that, but you know, the tear, that's a 2000, so it's 25 years old. And it still runs, but we've been out and driving the valves, and it's old enough where we can't get the valve bodies. So we can run around basically with a bucket, you know, hanging onto the valve to catch you up. And, you know, to measure that motor, it's just not worth the tractor to hold.
How much does one of them cost?
Well, if it depends on what you get. I wouldn't go with John Deere because they've gotten ridiculous on the price, but the Mahindra tractors, the same horsepower, are a little over half price for the same horsepower tractor, four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And how much is it?
What's that?
How much would it cost?
Right around 100,000.
100,000?
That's just for the tractor, not the mowers and everything.
Mhm.
That's all comes from Alamo. But that's spec'd out. If we ever get one, it'll be spec'd out by the company.
Right. On this, it says that we're not gonna start paying for them until 2025 and 2014. So when 2025 budget comes out, we're gonna put $200,000 into the equipment budget.
Well, our equipment budget right now is 150,000, so with the money that our other 3 vehicles that we're paying off right now, this is the year for the final payment. So right now, we're paying 57,000 for the plow truck and 47 for the loader. So that's 100,000 right there that we won't have to pay.
Isn't the 2024 budget for equipment $50,000?
No, it's 104,000 on one line and I think 50,000 on another.
5130-2.
And 5197, it's two
It says
codes.
it's coming out of 5130-2, which is equipment.
Yeah, it will be. I have to move the code from the 50,
No, that's not being paid. If somebody stops your feet, I'm gonna go home and run the water. You're gonna sit, yes, you will, you're gonna sit down and go.
the 5130.2 has 50,000 in it. And the 5197.2 is also equipment. That has 104,300 to cover those 2 payments that I mentioned. But the 5197.2 is not recognized on the AUD anymore. So I'm gonna have to do a budget adjustment and move that money over to the 5130.2 and only have one code for the AUD purposes, because that code isn't on the AUD anymore. So we would have 154,300 for equipment. That's what we have right now. And we're gonna use 104 on those 2 payments.
What's the payment gonna be on the new trucks annual?
The new truck payments, 158,732 a year for the 2.
So it's almost a wash.
Yeah,
And the loader will be paid off in 25.
what?
The loader will be paid off in 25.
And the loader will be paid off this year in 24.
So,
The loader, the plow truck, and the garbage truck will all be paid off this year. Just a final year of a 3-year payment.
The invisible garbage truck.
Yeah,
If that money's sitting in their account and collecting interest for them, is that collecting interest because it's sitting in their account for them or us?
probably for them. Yeah, but we've been promised that thing for over a year now.
The year it was ordered in 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
March,
Mhm.
next month it will be
Next
3
month
years.
it'll be
3
3
years.
years.
Yes, it will be paid off. Yeah. But didn't they tell you we're supposed to have that in May? They said February, definitely by
The
May.
other day, he says, well, I knew you were gonna ask when I showed up, so he says March, but to tell them May, just to be sure. So,
March, we were giving up on it in a few meetings that we talked about it. So in last July, we had a meeting, it was in Mississippi somewhere, so was it just floating around in the
Yeah.
atmosphere somewhere?
supposedly it's a
Really?
CDJ now. That's what we're saying.
Where is it now?
It's that the body company supposedly CDJ.
Yeah.
Well, then when that comes time, when that May comes around, we'll have to discuss what we wanna do about that. You know, I don't feel comfortable making a final payment on something we don't even have.
I wouldn't be able to find out.
And that money is
They don't
still,
got the money, that stays, the
it stays with NCL.
NCL don't release it until we get delivery
Yeah.
of that, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it stays in NCL till we take possession of it.
We could have had that money in our account, 3
Right.
years making lots of money,
Yeah,
if we'd have known about how.
They're making money on it. I mean,
How
how
would
does
we know?
that factor out? They make money off of our money, because it's sitting there and they haven't released it.
well, it isn't NCL's fault. He has sent me many emails asking me, do you have this truck yet? Do you have this truck yet? It's not their fault, it's the fault of the people trying to get the parts to finish it, right? And we do have a free loaner that we've been using. They did give us that, right? And it works good.
It works fine.
We'll
There's
just
a
keep
lot
it.
of differences,
Yeah.
very nice. Very fast too.
So, what do you guys feel about the truck? Should we go ahead and then, you know, make arrangements to consider maybe paying them off? Or do you wanna try to find financing? Which I don't know if you'll find
I
better.
personally think for the amount of maintenance that we're paying out every year, that's almost the cost of the payment every year, you know? It's expensive just for repairs. The trucks are what, over 20 years old.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get no trade-in value. I mean,
I'm for buying them and trying to pay it off
I'm
sooner.
on a highway man, so I kinda like to see this bill go through myself. And if we can pay them off early and we can save interest, we're gonna save a lot on maintenance. I mean, at least a minimum of 100,000 on maintenance anyways.
And time. The time Ethan spends fixing them.
What does X Works mean?
What?
On freight term, it says X Works.
I don't know, do you know
No.
what X Works means on this?
Any idea what
Freight
it's cost,
terms.
gonna cost us?
They get, there's no freight, they never drive it here, if you don't check freight.
Something
This
we
is
bought-
just something
something we bought recently had a big freight charge to it. A loader or something with it?
Our last truck we didn't pay freight on,
we
they
never
brought
pay
it.
freight on anything but we put pay freight on parts, that's some stuff. I just saw a bill too, with a freight charge, got it from, TNT or somewhere, I can't remember, it's in the bill.
Mhm. And I think we'd be lucky to be able to get them in the same year.
I don't foresee where the interest rate comes down for a while.
It's not only the interest, but the cost. Waiting, the cost is gonna go up. Don't you say that the town was it paid $358,000, or they allocated?
Warrensburg approved a personal truck, it was, not to exceed 350,000, so,
Mhm.
so we got them in a little under on that.
Mhm. And that's a year's worth of interest on that truck, $30,000 more than we're paying right now. If we do it. So, any other comments or just, no, you're okay with it? What about you guys, you okay with it?
Right,
Okay, I'm okay with it, but we could look into paying it off early.
Yeah, we can discuss that at a later date.
Yeah, as we look at
Maybe
what
the
we've
interest
got.
rates will drop and refinance if you find another
Yeah.
company, it's always an option.
Okay,
Okay.
well then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, and then we'll discuss what we're gonna do with the garbage truck if we don't have it.
Yeah, I would
I'm not
right
gonna-
up front,
I don't wanna make that final payment if I don't have a truck.
That's for another meeting.
Yeah. Okay, and the next thing in our packet now, I don't have any more resolutions, I just have like discussion items. The first one that I have here is for playground equipment, and in your packet, you have a copy that looks like that, that shows projections of what we could spend our occupancy tax money on. The picture that I put in there of the playground equipment is just a sample to show you what this kind of stuff costs. It's quite expensive. And that is why Victoria is here.
Yes, I am.
To
With all my
dis- to
children.
discuss
This is why we need a playground, guys.
with that rubber bottom is $46,000. Yeah, that's what a playground costs. I know a lot of people want playground equipment, which is why I put it in to show people this is what it actually costs. And Victoria has discussed grants, like a 75% grant where we'd only pay 25%. Then it was also brought to my attention that occupancy tax may not qualify to cover the playground equipment, which I'm gonna check into that and find out. But really, it's just an idea to give you an idea of what this stuff costs. It's very expensive. And did you have any luck? I gave her a catalog today to look through different kind of pieces of equipment. We had a whole catalog of it, and there's one that you really liked that's sort of like an outdoorsy.
Yes, so actually the woman that is our district's person, her name is Sarah Emery, she's from out in the Buffalo area. She contacted me, we were able to talk briefly earlier today, and she explained a lot of it to me, and actually there are similar pieces in the catalog to the footprint and size of what's there for similar pricing. The difference being is that through them, they can actually help us kind of like customize the whole thing. And she explained it to me, and to have somebody come out and look at the area that we're looking at and everything would be free of charge. And she actually also has like a liaison for the grants, that we would have access to that woman to help me get through the grant process, and she's like very fluent in it, as long as we would be willing to say that we would only get Parkitect, playground
Buy it
equipment
from them.
from them.
Yeah.
Even though the woman is a liaison, she doesn't necessarily work with Parkitect, she's doing the grants, but the Parkitect people have her. And honestly, a lot of the stuff was very similar in size and pricing, and it's actually, they call it, play space or something to that effect, where it's more engaging for them, and there's all sorts of different things. There's nature inspired, there's air inspired, there's treetop inspired, and they would come and help look at all of that to see what would work best for us. And the other really neat thing is they can work within the budget of the amount that you've already set to make something very similar to that, but they can also do like an add-on. So they can say, okay, if you qualify for grants, we can add X, Y, and Z to the master plan. And so then when and if we do qualify for those grants, it's already decided that those are the parts and pieces that we can use. And if we don't get qualified for the grants, we'll just stay with what we already have as what we absolutely can get. But with like a contingency plan in place if we can get that extra 75% funding. Because I did talk to Danielle Dwyer through Saratoga County with Parks and Recs, and based on the poverty level of Thurman, we would qualify to have 75% of our construction covered, and we would only have to put 25% of the bill for a playground.
And they look like components, the ones that we looked at earlier. There's like components that you can add on later if you wanted to add
Absolutely,
pieces.
yes. So there's add-on pieces, so that was like what Sarah talked to me about, was we can do like our base plan, and we can also have additional pieces that we can add on if we can afford it through that. They don't necessarily have to be a part of it, but they certainly can be if we qualify for grants to get us that additional funding. And the woman that she said is their liaison could help me with all of that, in addition to what I've already put forth to try to get some, steps forward on some grants.
Okay. So we're not really making a decision other than to allow her to pursue the grants and see what we can achieve.
And if it would be okay that I do work strictly through Parkitects with Sarah and her liaison, that we would go with Parkitects. Because she said she just needed a verbal agreement that I would use just them for their liaison to get
For
the
a purchasing policy, don't we have to do competitive bidding for something like this, given the dollar amount?
We may have to,
If it's
depends
over
what we're gonna
10,000,
spend.
What's that?
if it's over 10,000, I think they do.
Yeah, so that might complicated, it might be hard for us to commit to them if we have to do competitive bidding.
Okay, I can certainly talk to them about it and see, you know, their stuff is all very comparable in compared to what I had seen from the other, I mean, cost versus what you're getting.
Okay.
Brian?
And this is what she's talking about for the playground, it's construction included in the price, because the one that you priced, they actually send people to our town to construct it here.
Put
on
it
our
up,
property.
yeah.
I do believe that Park Tech will include their construction in that, because it was one of the questions I asked, and like I said, it was very brief, we both had to go pick up kids from school.
Right.
But, she did mention that they have people, I mean, there are people that are willing to come here and look at what we already have existing and a footprint of what they could put up. So I do believe that anything like this large with that dollar amount, they're gonna have people that construct it, because they have warranties and insurance policies that they wanna make sure it's put up the right way.
Right,
Right.
okay.
So I think what we'll do is, if you get some quotes, and then we look at the purchasing policy and see where that fits in. Is it a $10,000, $20,000, like what's the requirement for us based on the cost of what you think it will be? We can go out and get, if we need competitive bidding, if we need 3 written quotes, if we need, you know, depending on where we're at. Okay, good. We also had discussed having a farmer's market up there in the rec field too, which the playground equipment would be nice for people that come to the farmer market and to the summer concerts. And that's just an idea that we're throwing around to try to utilize some of the occupancy tax money, because we do have quite a bit of it, and I'm a little bit concerned if we don't start to spend it. They may say, well, Herman, you don't need that much anymore because you're not really using it. So on that note, you do have in your packet the summer concerts packet, you know, how much that would be. So far we have like a couple of the bands are already set. I did want to find out from you how you feel about having 10 concerts starting July 1st, ending September 2nd. Then we would have 10 instead of 8. And these are the 10 people that Kathy's already reached out to. So that's why I put on that sheet $8,000 for the concerts, because it would be $6,850 for these bands, and then plus the porta-johns for 2 months.
Do we have any idea what the attendance was last year at the concerts?
We had, because I went to every one of them, probably we had about 40, at least 40 people at them. The very first one, which usually was, I think it was Red Haired Strangers or Whiskey River, but that was standing room only. That place was packed, underneath the bandstand, underneath the pavilion awning. That one had a lot of people. It depends who they are, how many people came. And also last year, we had a couple that were rained out. So I think we only ended up having 6, which is why we extended it to the first weekend in September, so that one guy got to come. Yeah. We also have discussed maybe having more food there, different types of food. Because I know that Pat Luann did pretty well, going to everyone and selling food.
Yeah, we really should improve our rec field. You know,
I just want to know, is it okay to have 10? Are you okay with having 10 concerts?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't really need a resolution or anything, I just need to know how much to allocate and what dates. So now we're good on that. Okay? And then I wanted to show you what our sales tax revenue,
I think Brian asked a
What's
question.
the farmer's
Oh, I'm sorry,
market
go
money
ahead.
gonna be allocated for?
what?
Farmer's market money? Advertisement, what's that?
The advertising, if we need to get tents or tables or anything like that, we really didn't go too far with discussing anything about it. I just put that in as a discussion item, whether or not we would rent the space, whether we would need to have extra insurance, I don't really know. We wanna know how many people would even be interested. So,
We had a farmer's market at the train center, at this train station, years back. Nobody came to it. Got too hot, all the vendors went home because it was too hot.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I was here, I even went home, it was so hot then. I do remember that. But this farmer market, I would like to model it after like the one in Chester where they have music and food trucks and they don't just sell produce, they sold jewelry and books and it's huge. They have a lot going on there and I thought it would bring
Yeah, I think
people.
having it up at the rec field would be much more appealing as well as comparison to the train station. There's not a lot of room and there's not a lot of parking, whereas up at the rec field, there's gonna be a lot more room, a lot more space for people to set up. The kids will have somewhere that they can run around, people don't have to worry about them running into the road because it's pretty far out the road.
That's a good point.
That's
yeah.
a big thing for me when I go anywhere is, are my kids gonna be contained for any length of time?
I never thought about that, but yeah.
And especially, and then if we have a new playground up there, then it'll be appealing just for the parents to be like, oh, well, we can bring the kids to the playground and peek around the farmer's market, cause now we have something to do too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it all goes in hand in hand.
We could just put some feelers out, see what people think.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that.
The difference between here and there is they have humongous parking in Chestertown.
Yeah,
Land is flat, so they can get a truck in and out.
right,
You're
Yeah.
going up. I
up
mean,
that hill. Well, that was one of the things Ed and I had discussed was paving the road up to the rec field.
It should be,
So
with
that-
better lighting, I've had a lot of complaints with the elderly people coming out at night, having a tough time seeing from the corners.
that property goes up like this, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Chestertown
The
is flat as
pavilion
flat can
is
be.
too
Yeah.
small.
Once you get up there, it's nice and flat, once you get up there.
Once you get up there.
I think if we look at paving that road too up to there, that we should see, you know, what more it would be to repave that ball court there, the basketball court. Well, right there,
I'd
paving
like,
off.
personally like to see a larger pavilion and probably a well in so that you can utilize the youth building the way it should be. You
Yes.
know, with the
A
septic
well is
there.
very.
I mean, there's a lot of questions about it, and it is money, but it's stuff that we really need to start addressing. If we're gonna put thousands into that field, we should look to finish the whole job.
Can we use occupancy tax money for that?
I don't know.
For what?
For building?
I'm gonna find out on Tuesday. I'm on that committee at the county and I'm gonna ask about that. And I also did reach out to the engineers just to find out what it would cost if we could put a well up there just for the youth building, for the garden and the building. Just to get an idea of what it might cost and we could really utilize that as a refreshment stand place. and,
Absolutely.
You know,
It could be used for a lot of, you know, even for our public, you know, when they have their free stores, you know, they wouldn't have to hurry so much. 'Cause down here, they're kind of pressed. And there's a lot of options.
What I would ideally like to see us
That's all it
do
is.
is, given that we're going to be moving the highway garage out of here, is to talk to our engineers and develop a site plan for the whole property. We gotta decide ultimately what we're gonna do with the Harris House. Once the highway garage is gone, we gotta decide what we're gonna do with that building. This building needs attention, we need to decide this, we need to decide what we're gonna do with the rec field. Rather than piecemeal things and find out that we've done something that doesn't fit with our new plan, I would encourage us to talk to our engineers, come up with a site plan, so that once the highway garage is moved, what are we gonna do with this whole site? That way, we can kind of have a master plan for the whole property. We should improve our parking.
Yeah.
We need to address all the buildings, like I said, we need to address what we're gonna do with the playground. We'll ultimately need to address septic, because if we're gonna do something with the whole property, we gotta figure out where we're gonna put that. So, rather than piecemeal things, I think it would be better to have a master plan for everything. And we can get input from the public, is what do they want us to do with this? I mean, what do we wanna do with the highway building? I mean, I know that town engineers said that the building had good bones. You know, does that mean that we can actually utilize it for something, or are we wasting our money and time trying to do it? We don't know.
The best thing for that would be to tear it down, blacktop it, build a new building over there, get rid of the Harris House, you have all the parking you want.
That might be the best
That
option.
that right there is just an accident waiting to happen.
Okay, that might be the best
We should
option.
tear it down and then be it.
So what we should do then, maybe is send out a questionnaire to the public.
Yeah.
What do you wanna see here?
Yeah.
Alright.
What kind of things do we wanna do
We were
with
just
this?
talking about putting water to the youth building. You got a water line coming right down through here from the water. You got wells already drilled, why don't you just
There's
feed in the water?
there's limitations on it. I think that, and don't quote me because I don't recall the specifics. But Department of Health regulates water sources like that, and when you go over, I believe, 5 connections, you become a public water supply. Then you start having to have an operator, you start having to disinfect, you have, it triggers all these other things, there's thresholds there. That's why we currently have 2 wells and 2 systems,
Four
so
people.
that we don't exceed that threshold.
How many people are hooked up to the water?
4 each.
4 each.
4 each, we cannot have, if we
We're
have
taking
5.
water out, or is that because we ran the water line to the house? Are they actually using our water, or is it because we pipe to their house that was never?
It's piped to their house.
Yeah,
It's
it's
2,
part of the SALT project.
Yeah.
2 wells go into 4 places. I don't understand why the highway garage and the town hall is considered 2 places. Because if I was an individual homeowner and I wanted to put water in my garage, it wouldn't be considered 2 places. We're one property, we're one town, but,
Yeah.
and then I did ask the engineers, would it
Yeah,
be
it's not
possible
residence.
to temporarily have the water on in the summer up there? Just for a little while, for the garden and for the youth building, so they didn't get back to me on whether that's a yes or a no.
That might be based on residences though, you know, I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, a residence is obviously gonna use a lot more water.
Right,
than a little building that's gonna be used, you know, once in a great while. I
Yeah.
don't understand why they didn't allow it, you know, to put on, and they took 3 wells out back? There's 3.
Are there
well, I think one is closed though, only 2 are feeding water to homes in here.
Yeah, but which one's closed?
I don't know,
Cause they drilled one way up here,
right,
and then there's one in the back of the rec field, that's
Yeah.
artesian, that flows out, and then they drilled one over on Kenyon's property up that road, didn't they?
Go back, yes, there's 3.
I don't know, but I can ask the engineer about that, what wells are on
We
there.
helped them work on the one behind the
Something tells me the one down behind Doug Kenyon's property, that one might have had salt in it. I'm not sure. Because I don't think they didn't connect to that one, did they?
I don't think so.
I don't remember doing any digging over there, so maybe they did just use the 2, but I know they did drill 3.
Because that's kind of down gradient, so it's probably in the salt plume. So that might be why they didn't use it.
Well, I can ask the engineer, what they think about that, because I don't know whether if we dug a well up there, would we hit salt? I don't think so, but I don't
The other
know.
one didn't.
It's just something to think about, and I'll get all this, get this information and figure out what we wanna do. And I think input from the public would matter a lot to what we're gonna do.
If we put a poll out to the public, can we add on there if people wanna see like an actual library to know if that's something I should continue to collect books for and,
Yeah, I think you can ask all those questions and just ask people just an open-ended question.
Yeah.
What things haven't we
Mhm.
thought about that you'd like to see us do? You know?
I wonder if we had a library, a real library, would we not have to pay our library tax?
The library tax is part of school tax now.
Yeah.
Oh,
It used to be library tax, now it's school tax.
Yeah.
They take it out of library tax.
We did actually have a library in the Harris House for
Yep.
quite a number of years, but
Mhm.
it was underutilized.
Yeah.
I think the thing with libraries nowadays is they have to have other activities, access to computers, just a lot of other things going on. It's not just borrowing books anymore.
Right, right, a lot of DVDs.
Yeah.
well, which is totally fine, because then there's another, it's another activity center for kids, especially during the winter time when it's, not ideal to be at the rec field unless they're sledding or something. Then if there's a library where there's an inside place where the kids can utilize an area, and if they do have access to computers, if some kids need it for homework,
Right,
because some kids might not have internet or
Right.
computers at home, and a library would be an asset to those kids that don't have access to an internet computer at home for homework. Children.
what?
Within the last, on our abstracts, the last couple of years, Cedarwood, we used to pay a water sampling, then it got an expanded water sampling. Is there a description of what an
Is the
expanded?
expanded water sampling the people in the plume, but not necessarily the people on the wells? Because they are testing, Well, they're really gonna be testing probably anyone who thinks they might have salt, like they're adding on more people. So that might be what they mean by
Is this some
expanding.
of that sampling, cover sampling up at the transfer station?
They do sample that.
We're on the end of that, this is the 30th year,
30th year.
close, where they won't have to,
Up at the transfer station.
yeah, but they will have to put in new wells when they
Couple times a year.
finally cap the C and D.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it should be 30 years, I think, this year. I think.
It's the 30-year
I
mark
think,
now. I
yeah,
think
the
they
oldest
mentioned
to
that to me,
The
yeah.
oldest to that, I'll have to check the dates.
Oh, wow.
They'll know, I'll ask them, they'll know. I think they did mention that we're at the end of that. Mhm. Alright, and then the only other thing, I have two other things here. Our fourth quarter sales tax is in, comes in February. You have a sheet on that. We got the highest amount we've ever had, 128,314, which is just a little higher than last year. But coming up, so we're doing pretty good on our sales tax. And then the other item I had was to let people know that the phone system has been changed to Slick. Everyone reverted back to their original phone burst that they used to have under Verizon when they were single lines. Main part of the reason we had to do this is a lot of what we're using now is software that requires multifactorial authentication. We have to get a code over the phone and put it into our software, and they don't do it if you have an extension. You have to have a direct line. So that was one of the main reasons prompting us to do this. Unfortunately, the town historian and supervisor's office has a different number that starts with 838, that's a Slick exchange. So we did have these flyers and they're out there for the public and they're posted on the website, and I think they're on Thurman Happening, to let people know that the numbers have changed. And then I'd like to run Slick, not necessarily the phone, but I'd like to run Slick internet to the youth building. I mean, we already approved to send it down to the transfer station, we just need to trench and then to run the line, and they'll come and set that up. But I would like internet up there too. I would really like to put another camera up there to monitor, some of the things that are happening, and they're not necessarily damaging, but like lights being left on, that big huge light over the basketball court was on for 3 days. I don't know how anybody got it on. I wish I did, so I could turn it on for some concerts. But I wasn't able to turn it back on. Remember, we went up there? Couldn't get it, I didn't know how to get it on, but
There
someone
used,
does.
used to be a timing system in there, you could program that, anything you want.
Maybe the timing was off, and which is why I couldn't get it to go on.
Yeah.
But it was on for 3 days, and I don't know who was up there. We also saw, and I don't know, could have been just an innocent thing, someone found an arrow, but there was an arrow put against the door, and the door to the youth building was unlocked. Nothing was missing, but I just would like to have a camera up there.
Where does our sales tax money end up going? I mean, like you budget,
Where does it go?
400-some thousand.
It just covers other items in the budget. It's just a revenue source. 100,000 of it goes into the highway, and the rest of it stays in the general fund. It's
So
part
you
of,
could pay for trucks with extra tax money.
could we use that? Yeah, we could.
Well, when you say extra tax money, if it's more than what we budgeted, it goes into our fund balance.
Yeah.
Both highway in general or just general?
Well, no, highway,
Well,
Hi-
they
highway-
both have a fund balance.
yeah, they
Yeah.
go, yeah, it doesn't go into, highways would go into highway fund balance, general fund would go into general fund balance, yeah.
You know, we're talking about sales tax. You roughly had $150,000 you budgeted in your 23 budget, you budgeted 400,000 or 405. So you're over $150,000 in the plus. Where does
Yeah,
that money
budgeted
go?
350 and we got 400 and
It
something.
goes into the fund balance.
Yep.
And then ultimately, I mean, we can use some of that fund balance in the next budget or continue to carry it, you know, it gets invested in the, class,
New York class.
New York class. So,
But you could use it at any time for a truck or something.
as long as
Anything
we
over and
approve it.
above the budget we could use, yeah.
We just have to appropriate it for whatever we're gonna use.
Yeah, we did last year for paving, remember?
Yeah, we took,
Those,
90-something thousand for
Went
the
way high, and we went
excavating.
over on paving, so we paid part of that payment.
I mean, a lot of it, we're basically trying to accumulate it just for the new highway garage.
Another fund. Yeah, that's another fund. The highway garage is a fund, the highway department's a fund, the general fund is for the town. There's,
We have
how many, 4 funds?
four. One's for the C&D, that's 50,000, that's going there. And then the one's for the garage, but when a lot of things went over in the highway, a lot of the money that was in that highway garage fund was surplus fund balance to be used. It was operating money that I put there just to earn the interest, and it was depleted as it was needed. So I put the extra money, it's not extra money, I put the money that we're not using at this moment in there to earn the interest, and then as we need it, I'm moving it back into the fund. That way we get the most bang for our buck there.
Why do we spend so much money on garage sale advertising?
Hmm?
Why do we spend so much money on garage sale advertising? It's a
Well,
garage sale,
yeah, that was, what did we spend on garage sale?
2,500, 2,300 last year,
Was that what it was, 2,300?
25 this year we got.
Yeah, well, they have to, I don't know, I think she bought new signs last year, I think that's what she used it for. And they do advertising, I don't know, oh, you know what they did
They
last year
hired
too?
somebody
No,
to
they,
take flyers around.
you hired someone to do that brochure, yeah, that's what a lot of it went to.
Yeah, that was $1,000
Yeah,
for those, and I don't remember the amount how many she got.
yeah. I remember that, you had that really nice, multi-page brochure made up.
There was some money refunded back to the town last year
Yeah,
for that. It
yeah.
was like,
I gave 200 and something back in donations and
Yeah, it was
another
about
200
500.
something back from Cruelty.
yeah, there was $218.74 that was unspent, and then $212 that was ad money.
Donations.
They
Yeah.
sell ads for the brochure, so that money came back to the town, so 400 and change.
But I realized that all businesses in the town of Thurman was a colored brochure. What's that got to do with garage sale?
I'm not sure I understand your question. The businesses
A
sell.
garage sale had a pamphlet out that was full of colored
Right there.
ads of businesses in town.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how you spent the money by putting colored ads into a brochure.
No, the businesses
That's
paid
got all
for
the
it.
other stuff.
Oh, they paid for all
Yes.
that?
Yeah, for
Yes.
our own ads, yeah.
Yeah.
Might have it, I don't know.
That's the ad money that came back to the town, $212 that came back to the town. That was the ads they sold,
You could take that.
came back to the town. They don't make any money off of it, it's all the money, they get money and whatever they take in ads, whatever's left unspent goes back to the town.
Yeah, but those colored ads were paid out of occupancy tax money, correct?
The brochure
The
was,
brochure,
yes,
that's where all the money went, correct?
some of it, I don't,
Not all of it.
what else did?
Oh, a big chunk of
I
it.
mean, we did the porta potties, we did the
Oh, yeah.
advertisement in the Sun,
Newspaper ads,
yeah, and the other advertisements.
There was probably a report, anytime you get occupancy tax money, at the end of the year, there's a report, so if you wanna see how it was spent, that report, it itemizes all the expenditures
and has the
and all
receipts.
the receipts attached to it for what the money was spent on,
Mhm.
so that's all available.
I guess my question is why are we putting out this huge colored full-page ad to businesses in town when it's a garage sale? A garage sale, when Berkey's done, it's always been a 1 or 2 page piece of paper with map on one side and the people that are selling. The one that was done last year had all kinds of roads, didn't have any sales on them, dead-end roads, and people from out of town had no clue where they were going until they got to the dead end.
Sounds like you ought to be on that garage sale committee.
No, because I'd like to go to the garage. I'm just saying, there's, really, it's been done where it's a page or two and there's a map of Thurman and all of everybody that's happening, not
Well,
this humongous full.
the
5, 10
businesses benefit from the garage sale because it brings customers to town. So it's not just for the homeowners having a garage sale. other people have garage sales and other people have businesses, you know, that the customers come into town for.
Yeah, they may go, buy jewelry from Winnie, buy maple syrup, buy.
Yeah, Mud Street Maple was open in last year's garage sale, I remember.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we were,
Mhm.
Yeah.
my farm was, our store, we do a bunch of sales during the
Yeah,
garage
because
sales.
there's a lot of people in town.
Yeah, so it benefits all the businesses that participate in it.
Tourism.
Is there some, anybody else have questions or anything? I have one question. I saw in the paper that Warrensburg got that community block grant, and I know at one time we talked to Rich,
Oh, yeah, the people that came here.
yeah, and then the other people that were the grant writers, and then we kind of dropped it. I thought, well, I guess why are we not pursuing it? If Warrensburg qualified, how come we aren't still doing it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I thought
Flatley, wasn't that the name of it? I think?
Flatley Reed or something like that.
Yeah, mhm.
I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, but Warrensburg was doing it, Rich came over and talked to us, we were talking about doing it, and then I heard a rumor that Warrensburg wasn't qualifying, wasn't gonna get it, and so we kind of gave up on it.
Yeah.
But now I see in the paper that they actually did qualify and they got a bunch of money,
Is
so.
that what they got for the sidewalks?
No, this was for people's improvements to people's
Oh, the
homes.
homes?
That was the stuff that, yeah, that Rich was talking about.
Hmm.
So, seems like it might be worthwhile to help out some of our residents,
Yeah, could look into
so.
that.
Yeah, it kinda got dropped, the whole thing.
Yeah,
Well, I think something happened where it wasn't gonna happen, right? I remember that.
Yeah.
Didn't Warrensburg not get it? And then they did?
it turns out they did, it was
Or
in
they
the news,
waited,
it was
maybe
in the
they
last,
waited.
I saw the paper.
Sun, yeah,
Mhm.
Yes,
so.
I do too.
The other thing I was gonna ask, and I had brought this up a few times, and I don't know, I just haven't had time to do anything, and I don't know if you have either, but, something about expanding the broadband and talking to people at Slick and Dan Steck and Matt Simpson and all those guys,
At the county level, they are doing that,
okay?
yeah.
But we have that money the ARPA money,
Mm-hmm.
and we have, there's only three things you can use it for, water, sewer, and broadband, basically.
No, we can use it for anything now, because they classified it as revenue recovery if it was under a certain dollar amount. So we can use it for anything,
Okay,
yeah. It used to be
So-
that way that you're thinking, but they changed it if it was under, I forget, 10 million, or there was a dollar amount.
so does that mean we're gonna use it for the highway garage?
Well, I was thinking the well and septic, I wasn't thinking the whole garage.
Okay, all right.
We use
Well,
water.
no, that, I'm fine with that.
No, but it's revenue recovery, and we can use it for anything.
Okay.
There's
And
still
we
a
do
bunch
have-
of people in this town that don't have high-speed internet.
Yeah,
Well, I think they're working on it at the county level.
they
is what
really
she's
are.
saying.
They're really pushing for
They,
it.
I know they sent out a questionnaire a while ago, and I know that it's in the works, I just don't know the status of it.
Well, I know that there was, quite a few supervisors, me, Johnsburg, Hague, Stony Creek, yeah, we all went and talked about it. In fact, I found out that I was on the news and didn't even know it, as my quote it, as what I said, because I had talked to a nurse here who was lost in Stony Creek and had no cell phone signal and was stuck there in the snow. And then there's also somebody who was on a heart monitor and his doctor dismissed him because he couldn't get adequate internet signal to read the monitor. And I brought that up at the county level, and a lot of the other supervisors having the same kind of issues. We all got together, and I think they're definitely trying to fix the problem.
Good.
And I said, even if it's internet and your cell phone will work, you know, because the other issue we brought up was Frontier phones. There's no cell signal in a lot of places, and honestly, the county administrator, when he came here to meet with me, had no idea. He thought we were like 90% covered. And I let him know that no, we are not, that a lot of people here still have dial-up.
Yeah.
So, they are gonna work on that.
Me, I got dial-up.
You have dial-up? You have
There's no
AOL?
one on Dibby that has high speed.
No.
The camp, I believe, gets it through Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last piece of property on the road.
Summit Thurman is Frontier, right, up that way?
Just the camp, I believe.
Oh.
There's nothing,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I believe there's 6 businesses on Dibby Hill. I mean, you can get high speed by going through Usenet or.
Yeah, it's very expensive, yeah.
I have one last question on the occupancy tax allocation. and I could be very wrong about this, but where it says on the top of it, debit, credit, and balance, isn't the county revenue and the money reimbursed from the farm tour, the credit and not the debit?
That is confusing. I have the same question. What, it
The
seems
other
like,
number should be the debit.
it seems like we should reverse debit and credit to
Yeah.
make sense out of that, doesn't it?
On this sheet or
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
other one that we
yeah.
have?
Cause where you're debiting something, it's like, that's actually money we're getting, so that should be a credit to our account. And then things that are,
Oh, yeah, but it's how it would work in the software. A debit is adding to it. A debit is money, like if I got cash in, I would be debiting the cash and crediting the code that it would go to. So crediting is
yeah,
spending
it
it.
doesn't make sense to me either, Brian.
That's a banking philosophy, like
Yeah.
a debit would, no, debit is money coming in, credit is money going out. Sorry, I never really thought that would be,
Yeah.
because I work with it all the time, so.
Yeah.
Credit is credit. Not that easy.
That's how it would work in the software, debit is plus and credit is minus, so. Did you have anything that you, or did you just hear that? Okay. Do you have any ideas on what you wanna do with that field? No?
No, I think any improvements are good for keep bringing people in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think as a board, we really need to get moving forward with this act, with our short-term rental program.
Oh, yeah, I wanted
We
to schedule that.
really need to press that issue
Yeah,
and
actually,
before, I know.
I wanna schedule a meeting for that
I
right,
know a
right
couple
now.
of them there,
Yeah.
they say that.
What is
Some of
the meeting gonna be for?
Hmm? To discuss the short-term rental. I would like to have like a workshop for that,
Yeah.
and I do have information here to give out to you to read over, on the short-term rental and the new highway garage. It's packets I made for you to take home, and then I'd like to schedule a meeting now to set a workshop. So what day would work for you, like maybe next week?
The sooner you have it.
What are you talking?
Having a workshop,
But like when?
that's what we're discussing, when to have it. Do you need to be available do you take minutes at a workshop?
There's really no such thing as a workshop.
No?
It's a public meeting.
Yeah.
If you have a quorum, it's a
Yeah.
meeting.
You're
Oh,
not
so
thinking
it's
of
like a
doing it,
special meeting then?
Yeah, that's
you're
all.
not thinking of doing it next week, are you?
Why?
Well, because my granddaughter's coming up next
Oh.
week and I really don't wanna be in a meeting.
Okay,
She's
well, we
only
can
gonna
set
be
it
up for a couple of days.
Monday's President's Day anyhow, so
Yeah. Do you wanna move it, how about like March 5th?
Let's see what March 5th is here.
That's a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Something about that date, something.
Well, we can make it a different day. if you want.
Let me just look here, March. No,
Well, you can-
I don't
you
think I
can
got
send us an
anything.
email
I
and
don't think.
decide.
Well, I'd rather have a date and then I'll just hand you these.
Yeah.
I'll just hand you these. So it's something I typed up and I'd just like you to, wait, that was paper clip, that's for making copies.
For March
Just
5th.
what's gonna hand is that.
March 5th at 4:30?
Okay, that's good.
Is that what we're gonna do? March-
Yeah.
March
March
5th?
5th at 4:30. I'd like to finalize something and send it up to the attorney for review.
Yeah, we really
And then
should.
if we have to meet with the attorneys, we can schedule an
Yeah.
appointment if they feel.
And we
that-
can combine this with some of these road issues that we have. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can discuss
could-
that too.
So
Yeah.
are we gonna invite the attorneys to come to a meeting, or are we gonna do a conference call?
I'd like to have our input, like,
Mm.
I wrote to you what my input is here, but I'd like to get all of your input too, because we're gonna have a public hearing anyway.
Mhm.
So I'd rather have like a definitive local law that goes to the public hearing, and then we have another meeting, that's what we would need to do.
Yeah.
So I'm just
So,
gonna.
some of the towns have got it pretty well under control, and a couple of the ones I've talked to say that.
Well,
there's
Randy and
two or
I-
three out there that are very represented that we should kind of follow.
Right, when we went, we met with the attorneys,
Yeah.
at a meeting thing that we went to, and so they had mentioned that the Warrensburg one is a really, really good one, so that's what you have in here, a copy of the Warrensburg
Yeah,
information.
I've read that online.
And then
The
my
other
thoughts
one
on what
comments
else to
on
add.
that it's very, very well established, is-
Yep,
and we should have.
but I wanna know what you might wanna
Yeah.
add or change.
Yeah.
When Deb and I attended the presentation up in Hork and that the attorneys put on,
Yeah.
I mean, they talked about a lot of things, but, on our way back, we kind of talked about it. There's really no need to reinvent the wheel because there's other towns that already have short-term rental laws. But I think what we need to do is sit down and talk to our town attorney and tell them, because they said this in the meeting we went to up there. We need to tell them what our goals are. What are we trying to accomplish with this? Are we trying to limit the number of short-term rentals? Are we trying to regulate them? Are we trying to issue permits for them? You know, we need to tell them what to do. And then there's no need for us to sit down and write a law because they already have these laws.
Yeah,
And if you let them take a law from other towns and cut and paste, they can put together something that makes sense. But we just have to tell them what we're trying to do.
exactly,
So
that's what I
what
wanna do.
we wanna do is put a cap on this and keep it under control.
Well,
From what
yeah.
I'm seeing, there's a lot of places that are showing potential out there. Before.
So-
Definitely, I think the permit is a good idea, and the way that this is written, which I just copied it for you to have to review, but I would like to see a limit on the number that we have.
I know, I would.
And I would like to see a waiting list so that if someone sells their home, it doesn't stay with the home. It,
Yeah.
ends when someone sells their short-term rental property, and the next person on the waiting list gets to have a chance. I think that's fair. And I'd like to see proof there's homeowners insurance and septic inspection. And that's pretty much what I would like to add to what they have in here.
The occupancy, the number of people per house,
That's part
depending
of,
on the septic and the water, yeah.
yeah, that's already in Warrensburg, they already have that, where you have to get, an inspection from the code of, the, county. Yeah, and they also have to, on the back of it is what their application looks like. Their permit their short-term rental application is in here too for you to look at. And that is some things that, this is fine, I like the way it's written. Number of sleeping rooms, number of people who occupy it. Do you have the fire prevention and building codes report? Do you have a authority to collect occupancy tax from the treasurer's office? Will the renter provide a copy of the rules and regulations? Are they gonna be posted where if someone sees them? Like, one by one, this is very concise in here.
Yep.
So that's what I'm giving it to you to look it over, see if there's anything you may wanna change or add or take out. And then it will be very easy for the attorney to just modify it to what we want, give us any suggestions, and
That's a good idea.
then we'll be done, and we'll be on our way to having it regulated and open up the moratorium and start with the rules.
Shouldn't people who actually reside here be given preferential treatment over people who come in and buy 6 pieces of property and they live in
I-
Florida?
I did ask the
I feel
attorney
like
that,
should be,
I asked him that, and no, that is not legal to do.
Yeah, see, some of these things have been adjudicated through the courts and
Yeah.
other towns have tried things like that. But I think we need to decide in this next meeting we have, figure out what our goals are. And we can raise that, if that's one of our goals, is to give preference to people that homes that are owner occupied. I think there's some things like that you might be able to do, rather than like you're saying, somebody coming in buying 6 homes and turning them into rentals. There might be ways to attack that, but we have to set our goals and then
Right.
have a meeting with the attorney and figure out how do we achieve that, and then task them to go write the law for us.
Right.
And then we'll have to have a public hearing
Yep.
and let the public have their say about the law that we're proposing.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
I mean,
those
that's
are
the way
the-
I see it.
Yeah, you're right, those are the few things that I really thought should be added, because the Warrensburg one doesn't limit the number of short-term rentals you can have.
Yeah.
They do limit sometimes the area you can have them in. So that would be different to us, because we're now, I don't know how many we have, but as far as being registered at the county, what do we have, like 35, I think we have?
It's trying to climb.
There's 20 registered at the county.
Hmm?
There's 20 registered at the county.
No, some of them got Warrenburg
Yeah, but
addresses.
and some of them have more than one, and
Yeah.
so their name may be on there one time, but they own 3.
Yeah,
It's more than
People are
20.
buying them for that purpose too.
yeah.
Yeah,
My-
Right
my
on our
problem
street, a
is
guy
too-
just bought one there, and, the culvert was bad in the road, and I was talking to him when we were changing the culvert, and he fully intends to VRB out and come up and stay himself once in a while, and they're from New York City.
But the flip side of what you were talking about, if somebody was registered as a short-term rental, and when they sell the house, they don't get the short-term rental agreement, that's why they're buying that house. So now you're telling the people that own a house, that have a short-term rental, that live here, that wanna sell,
then they get on the waiting list, cause I don't think,
They start at the bottom.
yeah, I don't think it's fair to people who are waiting.
So that's a
it's
question we have
legal.
to ask the attorney, because
Yes.
it might not be legal for us to do that.
that's right. They've already registered as a short-term rental, the house is a short-term rental, been paying their occupancy tax, the people that are buying it wanna keep it a short-term rental,
So
they're buying it.
The thing that I'm not sure about is when you register, is the owner registering or is the property registering? Because if property's registering, it probably goes with the property. If the owner's registering, it probably ends with the transfer of ownership.
But that's a good question to ask.
Yes.
If
Yeah,
it's
see,
what
those are the
town
kind of things that
and that's
need to
what-
be ironed out.
Yeah,
Yep.
be very critical. That's a good point, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a home on High Street here sell to a short-term rental downstate. She's a short-term rental, she owns short-term rentals here in town, but she sold the house because she got an astronomical amount of money for it to another short-term rental company that
Right.
lives in Kingston,
Right.
or in that area.
Well, if we can stop that legally, we're going to, because there should be a cap in this small town. We don't need a
I think it's affecting
short-term
taxes
rental.
too, according to Tuck and Sue, because
Yeah.
on this house, if it was gonna sell to a person, say the normal assessed value is 250,000, they advertise to these real estate agents that, well, this house brings in X amount of dollars,
Yeah.
and they sell it for $500,000 like they did on Mud Street.
Yeah.
Now, the residents that have lived there forever,
Mhm.
their houses, their assessed value now goes up because, well, that house sold for that much, so
Mhm.
they do comparison sales.
Right, and
So
it's
it's
not fair to
driving up, yeah.
compare a non-short-term rental with a short-term rental.
Yeah,
And another big problem is people that have the short-term rentals and getting the enhanced star. Why is that possible?
Mhm.
My problem with that is Tuck and Sue ought to be doing a reval on every house that sells like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved here, they told me what my house was gonna be assessed for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They assessed me for exactly what I paid for it 3 weeks after I bought it, which
Yeah.
was not even close to the assessment they gave me.
Nah.
So
Mhm.
if you're buying an $800,000 house,
Yeah.
it should be assessed for 800,000.
Exactly, exactly.
I agree. with
That way you
100%.
keep the number of how much a house is worth down, because if they're gonna be assessed for $800,000, they're gonna pay 4 times in taxes what it was assessed for.
And they're gonna pay their fair share, that's
Yes,
the problem,
it's
they're
fair
not
share.
paying their fair
Well,
share.
Conversely, I know of a property in town that was sold for 50,000, and I actually brought that up one time. I says, well, this house literally next door to me just sold for 50,000, so shouldn't that adjust? Well, that was a duress sale because it was a family member, so that don't count. But if the guy from New York City spends 500,000, that counts to raise my taxes.
Mhm.
I just don't.
Sales have to be what they call arm's length. If they're not arm's length, they don't count.
Yeah.
We just,
Yep.
one just sold for $750,000 on South Garnet Lake.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I think it's assessed for about 280, so it's that, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
That they're still gonna be assessed for 280.
yeah, and it's not right, the assessments are not being increased in a timely fashion. The only option we have for that is to do a total re-evaluation. And that means hiring a data gatherer, and they go to every individual home and they get the, fair market value. Because another thing I brought up at that meeting, remember I said, if your fair market value is listed on your tax bill and your assessment is less than that, if they already know the fair market value, why aren't they just raising it to the fair market value
It
that they
says
know?
on your property assessment, it says 100% assessment, that's fair market value, which is quite a bit more than what you're assessed for.
Exactly,
If that's the number that Tuck and Sue need, they've already got it on
they've
their
already got
assessment.
it, yeah, I know. I don't understand why it doesn't work that way, but,
I mean, if people's taxes would go down, the ones that are spending $750,000 go up. I mean, that, it's all based on the money brought in taxes, so.
And the problem with all them wrong assessments is, like I said, it's the fairness issue. If you bought a house for 500,000 and still assessed for 280, you're not paying your fair share, and then someone else who bought for 280 and it's assessed at then it's skewed, it's not
Yeah.
right.
Well, we got campground in town that's assessed for 700,000, that was bought for $1.5 million or $2 million.
Mm-hmm, see?
Why doesn't the assessment go up? It's a new owner,
Yeah, exactly.
they paid that much for it, they must have told me when I asked the question, if you paid that much for it, it must be worth that much. Why aren't our assessors taking care of
Why
this?
isn't the assessment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but looking
You
at
got a
it,
lot more money in your bank account to put into funds,
Yes.
because you're collecting a lot more tax.
right, right. Well, when we do the budget and we figure out how much money we need, that's what we would get no matter what. It's how are we getting it? Are we getting it fairly based on fair assessments, or is somebody else paying less because their assessment's too low? That it hurts certain people that way. Because even if you do a reevaluation, usually 1/3 goes up, 1/3 goes down, 1/3 stays the same, because you're just sort of reappropriating it based on that assessment. And the problem is that people are buying, like you said, to spend 800,000, it's still 258,000 on the books. It's not right.
Yeah, but then they raise your things based on, well, I had to change your assessment, it had to go up because this sale next door to you sold for $1 million.
Right. And they just assume your value went up even though you didn't do anything to
They didn't do
increase
anything.
it.
Yeah.
But I thought every house, if every house is next to a house, and so it just goes all through the whole town, everybody's should go up.
They look at your neighborhood, yeah, they
Yeah.
look at the people around you.
And my house was assessed for what I bought it, we bought it for, but the bank wouldn't lend us any money because it wasn't even livable. That's all.
Well, even like with the EMS, when I tried to sell that, it was assessed for way more than anyone was ever gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
And we couldn't sell it for that. We couldn't, not even come close. But yet they sold it for $30,000, so, where's the fairness in that? That's not
I
fair.
know the professional appraisers, they do comparisons of houses that are roughly the same amount of property, roughly the same square footage, and
Yeah,
stuff like that, and, it might be a house, my house might be compared to something in Garden Lake, but it's the same house, same situation, and then they come up with what they average sell for. But for somebody who lives next door, just wants to, there's somebody with money that wants to spend that kind of money, you shouldn't drive your taxes up because, if it's worth $1 million, then okay, we're gonna assess it for $1 million.
another thing I'm noticing is that there's houses in Thurman that are selling without even being on the market,
Oh, yeah.
And that isn't really fair either.
You can see that in the Chronicle every week, tells you what's sold.
Yeah.
A bunch of them I have never seen advertised, but
Exactly.
once it changes names, it's in the Chronicle every week.
Mm-hmm.
And there's VRBOs in town too that are being advertised strictly on Facebook and stuff, and not listed with VRBO.
Mhm.
I know numerous of them that get rented like that too.
Well, I know the county will be addressing that too, because they're losing money that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending job.
Yeah.
Don't run it forever.
It has complicated a lot of things, and regulating it is the best option that you have. I really do like the Warrensburg one.
Yeah.
We just make a couple adjustments that suit us, and we'll have that meeting, and we'll get in touch with the attorney, and we'll move forward on it. That's all.
Good.
Time for you.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Doug.
Everybody just like me, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you're.
Time to go.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Bye. Thank you.
yeah. Thanks, Dave. Day off on the old.
Yeah.
Monday.
Give you a ride around, show you our sugar.
Before I get you going, see you.
Bye, Ed.
See you, Doug. See you, Doug.
Bye.
See you later.
We're gonna be open